Forbidden Truth, Breaking the Matrix of Control Chapter 3, Gravity Myth or Reality, Part 3.3, The Forgotten Ether, the Immaterial Medium, the Source of All Things, and its Deliberate Erasure from Science. The universal field and its suppressed properties. Perhaps the most fundamental and destructive falsification in the history of physics was the deliberate removal of the ether from science. We are taught to believe that the universe is a void of vacuum in which particles drift and electromagnetic radiation, light, radio waves, somehow propagates through nothing. This truth is drilled into us in schools and universities and forms the foundation of all modern physics, including Einstein's theory of relativity. Any attempt to mention ether is instantly mocked, dismissed as unscientific mysticism, a relic of the past, or pseudoscience, precisely because the very idea shatters the official worldview and threatens to collapse the entire edifice built upon it. The reality, however, is very different. Ether is not a speculative hypothesis but a real, all-pervading, immaterial medium, the foundation of existence itself, the hidden substrate of the universe, and the channel through which all interactions occur. Its removal from science was not progress but an act of control, a calculated move to cut humanity off from limitless, free energy and from true knowledge of the cosmos. The erasure of ether from physics. The idea of an ether or a universal medium had existed in science for thousands of years, from the Greek philosophers to the greatest minds of the 19th century, including Isaac Newton, James Clerk Maxwell, and Nikola Tesla. Newton invoked ether to explain light and gravity. Maxwell, father of classical electrodynamics, built his equations on the assumption of ether as the medium of wave propagation. By the late 19th century, the study of ether was a central scientific pursuit. Then came the Michelson-Morley experiment of 1887, which failed to detect the ether wind the Earth's supposed motion through the ether. Almost immediately afterward, Einstein's theory of relativity emerged, declaring the speed of light constant in all frames of reference and thus, supposedly, eliminating the need for ether altogether. From that moment, ether was branded unnecessary and systematically discarded. But think carefully. The Michelson-Morley experiment did not disprove ether, it merely failed to detect relative motion between Earth and the medium. That result could just as well indicate that ether is stationary with respect to Earth, or that its properties are far more subtle and complex than assumed. Relativity, elegant as its mathematics may be, replaced the ether with an even more abstract concept, spacetime curvature, an immaterial, unmeasurable, intangible construct that exists only in equations. It was not a true explanation but a sleight of hand, one crutch swap for another. Ironically, even Einstein himself, later in life, admitted that some form of ether might exist after all. Ether as the source of everything. If ether permeates all things, then it is the ultimate reservoir of free, boundless energy. It could be the basis of gravity as pressure flows, not attraction between masses, of light as waves in the ether, not photons in a void, of electromagnetism, and of every so-called fundamental interaction. If humanity were allowed to harness this energy, it would be liberated from dependence on oil, gas, coal, and nuclear power, the very foundations of the global economy and the stranglehold of the energy cartels. The suppression of ether was thus a suppression of freedom. It was the deliberate hiding of abundance. That is why those who rediscovered it, like Nikola Tesla, were silenced, discredited, or erased from textbooks. Gravity without G and with ether. If Earth is flat beneath a dome, and ether truly exists, then gravity becomes unnecessary. What holds us to the ground can be explained in far more logical ways. Ether pressure from above. Like atmospheric pressure, the ether exerts a constant force on matter, pressing objects down. The so-called acceleration of free fall g 9.8 meters per second is simply the result of ether pressure or vortex flows, or perhaps even the steady upward acceleration of the plane of Earth itself, producing the illusion of attraction. Electromagnetic interaction. Earth may function as a vast electromagnetic body, attracting matter through field effects. This could explain why different materials behave differently and why metals seem more responsive. Internal forces. If Earth is more than just rock, if it is a structured system, its internal processes could generate pressure that holds matter at the surface. These explanations are simpler and more coherent than the contrived notion of an invisible force with the dubious constant G, tailored to fit equations and riddled with inconsistencies. The banishment of ether was not an advancement, it was regression, designed to conceal the true mechanics of reality and to keep humanity enslaved in technological and energetic dependence. The ether is not gone. It has only been suppressed. Its recovery is the key to breaking the chains of control and opening the door to a new scientific revolution, one that reveals the world as it truly is, abundant and alive with limitless energy. 3.4. Space threats and the myth of the vacuum, manufacturing fear and funding black projects. The illusion of vulnerability and its purpose. The myth of endless, empty, hostile space teeming with meteorites, black holes, dark matter, asteroids, comets, radiation, and other so-called dangers is one of the most powerful instruments of global control, as we noted in Chapter 2. From childhood, this image is ingrained into our minds, shaping our worldview, instilling fear, and molding our aspirations. We are taught to feel fragile, insignificant, and forever dependent on those who claim to protect us from these cosmic perils and to lead us toward a supposed bright future among the stars. Yet this illusion of vulnerability serves a much darker agenda. Isolation through fear, the belief that we live on a tiny, defenseless planet adrift in an infinite void, breeds loneliness, helplessness, and submission. A human being who feels insignificant before the vastness of the universe is far easier to manipulate. Such fear smothers the natural drive for self-knowledge, for discovering the true nature of our world, and for fighting for freedom. Instead, it drives people into the arms of so-called authorities, desperate for protection and salvation from those who claim to understand the cosmos. It manufactures perpetual vulnerability, making us dependent on protectors and saviors. The pretext for astronomical spending, the countless billions funneled into space programs, NASA, Roscosmos, and others are justified by the alleged need to defend against cosmic threats, explore the universe, or search for extraterrestrial life. In reality, as we have already seen, these funds sustain the illusion, paying for staged footage, training actor astronauts, and, most importantly, financing hidden black projects. See Chapter 5, of which the public remains completely unaware. This is not investment in progress but in bondage. Money that could be used to eradicate poverty, hunger, disease, pollution, and to develop free energy and genuine breakthroughs is instead poured into maintaining a carefully orchestrated illusion that serves the machinery of global control. Concealing the truth of the dome and its purpose. If Earth is flat and enclosed beneath a dome, then the dome is not a mere firmament but a sophisticated engineering structure with multiple functions. It shields us from external influences beyond our awareness, regulates climate, and may itself be part of a vast mechanical system to be examined in Chapter 7. We are told of meteor showers and shooting stars as random cosmic events, but what if they are fragments falling from the ceiling of our enclosure or evidence of repair and maintenance of the dome's segments? This would explain their periodic nature, as well as the obsessive interest in predicting and cataloging them, not because they are random, but because they follow the operational cycles of the system that they monitor. It also clarifies why, when we look at the moon, we do not see billions of stars scattered behind it, but only what we are allowed to see. The dome conceals whatever lies beyond, while the stars may in fact be projections, mechanisms, or artificial lights embedded in its structure, as we will discuss in Chapter 7. In this way, the myths of gravity and hostile space are not neutral scientific theories but complex, multi-layered tools of deception. They exist to keep humanity ignorant, fearful, and obedient, while distracting us from the true boundaries of our world and from our own limitless potential. By manufacturing an illusion of cosmic vulnerability, those in power secure their ability to control, exploit, and enslave, robbing us of the knowledge and freedom that are rightfully ours. 3.5. Consequences of revealing the truth about gravity and ether, the collapse of false foundations and the dawn of a new era. The liberation of energy and consciousness. If the truth that gravity is a myth and that ether is a real, all-pervading medium were to become public knowledge, the consequences would be nothing short of catastrophic for the existing scientific paradigm and, at the same time, utterly revolutionary for humanity. This would not simply be another scientific breakthrough. It would be a tidal wave of awakening, an unstoppable surge of consciousness that could not be contained or suppressed. The complete collapse of modern physics and cosmology, every theory rooted in the concepts of gravity and vacuum, Einstein's relativity, the standard cosmological model, string theory, would be discredited beyond repair. The scientists who have devoted their careers to these doctrines would face unprecedented scrutiny, ridicule, and accusations of complicity in one of the greatest deceptions in history, even crimes against humanity. Funding for such research would vanish, and investigations would uncover the vast embezzlement of public resources. Entire space programs built upon these false foundations would be exposed as frauds. One of the central pillars of their power, scientific and ideological control, would crumble overnight. A revolution in energy and technology, true abundance, recognizing ether as a limitless medium, would open the door to free, inexhaustible energy available to all. Humanity would finally free itself from dependence on fossil fuels, nuclear power, and other resources monopolized by global corporations. This breakthrough would unleash radical technologies across every sphere: anti-gravity transportation, medicine powered by etheric energy, and new methods of construction. The global economy would be transformed beyond recognition, and people everywhere would gain access to genuine independence and abundance. A new vision of the universe and our place within it, to understand that we do not live in a hostile void but in a living, all-encompassing medium, would reshape our worldview entirely. Spiritual traditions would be revived, ancient wisdom about humanity's connection with universal energy rediscovered, and the very meaning of human existence redefined. We would see ourselves not as fragile creatures in a lifeless cosmos, but as beings immersed in an ocean of energy capable of harmony, growth, and profound awareness. The awakening of humanity and the rebirth of consciousness. Most importantly, such a revelation would act as a catalyst for a mass awakening of consciousness on a scale never witnessed before. People would begin to ask questions, demand truth, and pursue independent exploration of the world around them. Education, science, politics, and economics would be reimagined, no longer chained to illusion but guided by real knowledge. Humanity would discover its true power, its potential, and its purpose. New horizons of discovery and genuine progress. The recognition of ether would open uncharted fields of inquiry into the nature of matter, energy, and physical processes. Instead of chasing illusions in infinite space, science would be redirected toward groundbreaking discoveries that could transform human life. New ways of interacting with matter, revolutionary sources of energy, and entirely new modes of transportation could emerge, ushering in a civilization unlike anything we have known. The revelation of the truth about gravity and ether is not just another scientific milestone. It is a direct strike against the foundations of global control, a system built upon ignorance and falsehoods about the laws of nature. It marks the beginning of a journey toward understanding the true complexity of our world, a world far greater than we have been led to believe. Only when we cast off the myths of gravity and empty space and examine nature with unclouded eyes will we see reality as it is. This is not merely knowledge, it is the key to a new era of humanity, grounded in truth, freedom, and authentic understanding. It is a revolution of consciousness that will shatter centuries of bondage and restore to us our true dignity.